So we're now joined by wrestler Eddie Ryan. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
So you're going to be wrestling in Plymouth tonight, your hometown.
Yep.
Is that even more exciting when you wrestle to the place, obviously, where you live?
Absolutely. When I was a kid, we got the pavilions just there, you got the Guildhall just there. That's where I used to go to watch the wrestling as a kid. So when an event of this size is happening, it's amazing to be a part of it. And there's not many wrestlers from Plymouth, so it's good to be a focus of that.
And not only that, you're at an event where you've got the likes of Billy Gunn to Jerry, Rockstar Spud. Does that make it even more exciting that you can say, yeah, I wrestled with in an event with Billy Gunn?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially when you do these shows so often, you sometimes take for granted that you meet these people. You know, like a couple of weeks ago I did a show with Tanka, who was someone I watched growing up.
No way.
Yeah, so like for me, in that attitude era of wrestling, Billy Gunn was one of my idols. You know, I loved like DX and New Age Outlaws. So for him to be on a show today and I'm going to be wrestling on the same card, you know, you have to take a step back sometimes and say, actually, that's pretty cool.
So do you ever kind of go over to them, not as a fan, but say, you know, I absolutely love this match when you wrestled against this person? Do you kind of have those conversations? Because I guess you're very passionate about wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, like, because you got to put yourself in their shoes. You know, like they've obviously got a lot of fans, and so you don't almost feel like you're burdening them sometimes. Yeah. You know, like they're getting the same questions because you know I get it to a degree for the local fans here. So I don't want to go up and completely mark out in front of them, but at the same time, I'm a mark for Billy Gunn. So you go up and you say, you go up and you shake your hand and say, you know, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. And I really enjoyed this, and ask the questions. A lot of these guys, they're in, you know, like the twilight of their career. Yeah. They want to give back a little bit. So they want you to ask questions, and they like to tell stories. So.
I guess you can learn from people like that as well, because obviously having the huge success and the commercial success, you can probably learn a lot from them by just talking to them.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest bits of advice I was ever given was to go wherever you want to go, you have to learn from the people that have been there. Yeah. So he's obviously, you know, he was at the top of WWE at the height when it was at its most popular. So why wouldn't I ask him for advice? You know, because he knows what they're looking for. He was, up until recently, a trainer at their NXT facility. So he knows exactly what they want. So tonight, I'm on second, he's not on till last, so I'm going to go and say, excuse me sir, can you watch my match for me please? Yeah. So, and then get some advice, you know, and little bits like that. I mean, to be fair, this isn't the first time I met him, I've met him before. But I was very new back then, and you're very quiet and you're meek, and you're like, hi sir, nice to meet you, and then you go away. But, you know, today, you know, like, you know, a few years later, it's like, okay, let's see if there's anything that, you know, like he can help me make better so I can get to that next bit. You know, and hopefully so, you know, I imagine at some point you'll probably go back to NXT, and, you know, if you make an impression, you never know who you might talk to,
So obviously, when you go and you do your wrestling, do you look like a bit of a dick like me? Do you wear outfits like this, or do you dress like pretty normal? Like what are you going to be wearing tonight?
I mean, to be fair, I just wear trunks, trunks and knee pads. So to be fair, you're more covered up than I would be. So you know, like at first, when you first get in, you feel a bit self-conscious. You know, you're wearing your pants, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, to a degree, you sort of forget about those things because when you think about it, when you break it down, you're wrestling in front of a group of people in your pants, so how self-conscious can you really feel about it?
I mean, for you, when did you realise that you wanted to be a wrestler? When was that, you know, your career choice? Because it must be hard, I imagine. It's not like something you can kind of just get a job as a doctor or this. It's something you have to work so hard towards, and at first you might just be doing jobs for, you know, little money, but I guess you seem really passionate about it. So when did you realise that I'm going to put everything into this and that's going to be my job?
That was, I mean, it was funny because when I actually had the conversation with my mum, I was like, Mum, I think I want to be a professional wrestler. She was like, I've been waiting for you to say that for your entire life. Oh, because she knew how much I loved like wrestling. So because I used to like practice wrestling moves with my brother. Anyone that's got a younger brother will know exactly what I mean. Doing choke slams on your brother and body slams and splashes. That's what I used to do. And so like for me, I've always lived in Plymouth my whole life, and there's not much down here. It's out of the way, you know. Like you don't think about much. It's not until like Pride had come down here that really wrestling's come back out here. And so I did my A-levels. I went to uni at Plymouth. I did a degree in business, and I got into my third year of that of a 4-year course, and I was there, and I was just thinking, do I really want to do whatever happens out of this for the rest of my life? I can do this until I'm 65, retire, and live happy, you know. And
yeah, of course.
No, And I always loved wrestling, so I was like, I'm going to give wrestling a try and see what happens. And it just turned out that, you know, like one of the trainers was like, well, you're kind of natural to this, you should consider giving it a go. And I was like, yeah, I should, because I'm young and
yeah.
I don't want to look back on my life and go, I wish I'd done that. I want to say I did that. And so, you know, I moved to Swindon to a full-time training school. I was training five times a week, just 3 hours every day in the week, and then on a Sunday it was 6 hours. Just training, then eventually get onto local shows.
Yeah.
Start building a bit of a reputation, and then eventually you start getting around the country. You know, I've had the opportunity in 2011. I went to America for 6 weeks. I wrestled in America. Not long after that, I went to Japan for 6 weeks. Wrestled in Japan.
That's huge, isn't it, for wrestling? Yeah.
And you know, like I've wrestled in Belgium, France, Spain, Germany, as well as all over this country. So it's suddenly like at some point, you know, you're working a day job and at the weekends you're wrestling, and then it's like, well, wrestling is now becoming a job.
Yeah.
So we need to cut that back, and then that's how it happens. Just.
So for you, obviously wrestling in all these different places, who's been your toughest component? Is there someone that stood out and you're like, oh my god, you know, I'll never forget that match. It was just so special.
That's tough because, you know, like you have so many matches
Yeah.
that are always so different, and each one's special in their own way. You know, like you can have the crap matches, and you're like you learn from that because they, you know, like they were bad, and then you have like some matches with people where you've just got real good chemistry, and it's like it's easy and it's fun and it's not hard, and really hard to really pick, but like. There was a match in Japan that I had where I wrestled a guy who was in ECW called Masato Tanaka, and yeah, he wrestled Mike Awesome a lot, and they were like, you're gonna wrestle him, and I'm like, okay, okay, and that one was a really stiff match, and I was sore at the end of it, but you come back and he gave me a lot of praise, and I was like, wow.
Probably means a lot, doesn't it, as well, someone in that.
Absolutely, because I was very new then, I was only about 2.5 years in. Let me think, anyone in this country? There's, I mean, to be fair, one of the guys who broke me in, one of the trainers, he's called JD Knight, and he wrestles around the country. And it was always a big thing for me, the training school that brought me through. I always wanted, you know, like the first goal is to become the champion of that company.
Yeah.
You know, just that's that goal, let's move on to the bigger goal. And so he was the champion, he was the top bad guy. And so for me, the challenge was, all right, well, I want to be the top good guy. And, you know, we had a big feud, and, you know, like he put me through my paces and stuff like that, and then eventually, you know, like I win, and you get to the end of it and you realise how much you've progressed. And it's like, you know, like that's that achievement, but it's not just that. You look back on the body of work behind it and you're like, well, that's something to be really proud of. So.
Yeah, of course.
And then, you know, like every other match after that, you know, like it offers a different challenge. Like the guy I got tonight, he's quite a big stocky bloke, he's about 18 stone, I would say. That's going to be different for me from last night where I worked a guy who was 14 stone. You know, he was much quicker. So, you know, I'm trying to keep up the little one. Tonight, I'm going to beat the little one. So, every night, everyone's different. And so, you know, like, it's difficult because you can't prep for anything. So, as much as you work together, I've never worked with Sai tonight. So, I don't know how he works. So, it's going to be difficult. Whereas the guy yesterday, I hadn't worked with him before. So, it's just constantly learning, constantly fluid. Every day is just a learning experience.
I mean, a minute ago we were walking up and you were limping, so I guess you must get injuries all the time in this industry.
Yeah.
What's been your worst, would you say?
Worst. The worst injury I had, I dislocated my shoulder.
Oh.
it was disgusting, it was horrible. I landed funny, I bumped forwards, I landed funny and my shoulder popped out the back and it was just stuck out. And I didn't know anything was wrong immediately, and I just sat up and I was like, oh god, and there's just a big dip where my shoulder was. So I just pulled it back in and you carry on. Because there's no stop. Because wrestling is wrestling. You're supposed to get injured. That's the whole point of wrestling. So you sack
I'm
it
not
up.
going to be in the match with you tonight. I feel like to sit back on this one. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you as well, especially in your your hometown. When you're looking up, is that the Ho up there?
That is the Ho.
So
That's
you're so you're wrestling just opposite that. So I'll be rooting for you tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.